Right now, we're happy and pleased to have in the studio with us Rockford's new chief of police. His name is Daniel O'Shea. How are you, Chief?
Doing fantastic. Good morning. How are you?
Good to meet you. I saw you the other day at the Crime Stoppers luncheon, but there was a gulf of people in between the two of us. I didn't want to come up while you were talking to somebody important.
Well, yeah, everybody there was important. There was
That's
a lot
true.
of good people there, and it was a lot of people I've known for years, and a lot of people I just met. So, kind of like the first 5 days I've been here, I've met a lot of really influential, good people, and a lot of people who are been so supportive of the police department. It's been very encouraging.
That's outstanding. Now, are you a guy who remembers names right off the bat? You meet somebody once and you remember that name, or are you like me? You meet somebody, you never forget the face, but that name goes out the ear as quick as it goes in.
My wife is an unbelievable name Rolodex, so I'm always with her. So I'm like, who is this when we walk up? I remember a lot of people after I meet them, but I got to tell you, this first month here, I mean, I've met, thousands of people, and it'll take me a little bit to catch up on all their names, but I'll get to know them.
Absolutely. Give it time. And, and be careful. Some of you don't want the chief knowing your name too clearly on things. It might mean you have some troubles involved. How'd you get, let's take it from the ground up for people who know or are aware of your arrival, or aware of your position, but don't know a whole lot about you. How long have you been doing this?
This is my 27th year of being a police officer. I started back in 1989 and with the village of Addison. And then I left there and transferred to the Elgin Police Department, where I've been for the last 17 and a half years. And pretty much have done every bureau, every job you could do in a police department, from patrolman to detective to gangs to gang sergeants to undercover drugs to lieutenants, over support divisions, over traffic, over special events, administrative bureau commander, which is the assistant deputy chief title here in Rockford, over admin, over operations, and it's been a great career for me. I've had a great time, and I've gained a lot of experience. Very fortunate, very blessed career, if you will, and threw my name in the hat for Rockford. It's always intrigued me for probably the last 10 years. I've worked with a lot of the Rockford officers for the last 17 years in the Detective Bureau, violent crimes, and transferring around, and I've heard a lot of great things about Rockford. So when it opened up, I thought, well, I'd love to be the chief here. And
lo and behold, here you are. Here you are. You come from a cop family?
Uncle, grandfather, both Chicago police captains, father in the military, but he was not an officer.
Something that gets in your blood, though, isn't it?
It is. It's public service. And I don't know if it's just policing or, could be fire, could be police, could be any public service, any public entity. I think that it's not volunteerism per se, but it's that just you want to be part of the public service sector, I guess. And
to make things better in the community that you live and work in.
Right. And that's the end game is, it's kind of how we raised our kids too. It's, it's about service to others and public service. And it's just the avenue that my wife and I both feel very strongly about.
And that's a great angle to take when you talk about people who are considering that career in law enforcement. Now, you and I were talking off the air while I was talking. I'm not reflecting your viewpoints. My own is cops are way too under fire by too many different people, being disrespected from too many different directions. And I've read over and over again how it is hurting overall recruiting for police departments across the nation. Your story, I think, can cut through that because you get to the heart of what being a cop is about.
Well, it is. Right now, nationally, recently, in the last couple of years, has been kind of a beat down on the police in general. But there have been some officers across the country who have done some really knucklehead stuff.
Yep.
And the media picks up on the knucklehead stuff all the time versus the other 95, 98, 99% of the stuff where it's just good stuff officers are doing every day. And I understand that. I think everybody gets it that the media is going to portray things that will get them more mileage, get them more viewers, the old, if it bleeds, it reads.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's kind of a battle for us, sometimes the public image. Fire departments, I always joke with them that they're very good at public image.
They are.
They get out in the public and they have a very, positive public image. But by the very nature of their job, a lot of times it's kind of self-promoting. I mean, they're there to help people all the time.
They're there to come to the rescue.
Right. And police, we're there to help people a lot of the time, and then some of the times we're not there to help them. We're to help someone else, which, means we have to arrest people or deal with people in a different way. So my career, I guess, public service, it is, I think it's kind of either in your blood or something you hang around people and you start to think, wow, this is pretty cool. You actually are helping people. And that's kind of what got me into it back in the 80s was, one, it kind of just seemed intriguing to me.
Sure.
But it was kind of helping the greater good, I guess. And I don't want to make it sound like it's some grandiose thing, but it's it's a mindset, I guess. And a lot of the officers, like Rockford and previous places I worked, the officers go into the schools and they try and recruit kids and teach kids and kind of mentor kids. And those are a lot of the kids that will come back and be police officers. Kids I've coached, and I coached high school baseball and I've coached football, and some of those kids currently go to universities and they're in the law enforcement programs. I've gone and talked and spoke at their fraternities and stuff, and they're currently coming out. These are kids who are my son's age. They're coming in to be police officers now at 21, 22 years old. And I'm hoping some actually come work for me or at Rockford.
Nice. So, yeah, and they're probably thinking, hey, I know a guy, too. I know a guy from way back. I know where to send that application.
Right. And we email and we talk. But other kids I coached for, I've known them for 15 years. And those are the kids that I know and trust. And I know their parents. And that's... it's something that I look forward to, a next generation of policing, because I've got, 5-7 years left in my total run, and then I'll be done. But this whole new crop of kids coming out, it's awesome to see them.
And at the Crime Stoppers Luncheon, we saw where scholarships were awarded, and we got some young people pursuing that career in law enforcement.
Yep, absolutely. And a meeting, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I don't even remember when I met with people anymore these first 30 days.
I understand.
I had a meeting with Aaron Jarrett from public schools here,
sure,
and him and his staff. And one of the things we were talking about is maybe trying to, with them, get a public service sector type track in high schools. So, kind of the joint or the junior ROTC, and then police service and fire service. Because you've got that right now with service, and not really a public service sector, but you've got some of the trades, and
sure,
you've got kind of career tracks. So something they're looking at, and we would support. And he's a pretty impressive man.
He is.
He's a very intelligent guy.
Now I think I'm older than you, but I remember as a kid there were public service announcements that went, call a friend, call a cop. And that was beat into my head. My old man beat that into my head as well. You get in a jam, you find that uniform, call a friend, call a cop. And part and parcel, and I read an interview or some words from you from the Chicago Tribune where you pointed out that being a friend of the community, communicating with the community, being more than the guy who shows up to arrest people is the key to community support, understanding the ebbs and flows, the vibes of individual communities and communities within the community. You don't want to be the guy who just shows up to arrest somebody. You want to be the guy who people come to talk to as well.
Right, and it's building the trust and the relationship, and you have to have that. Otherwise, the communities and, like you said, the sub-communities in the communities won't talk to the police if they're not comfortable with them. If they don't know them, if they don't know the particular officer, they're not going to speak with them. That's kind of one of the things I've said since day one coming in here is I want every one of my officers, doesn't matter patrol, detective, traffic, doesn't matter where you work, your job is community engagement, and you have to be out. You have to be walking and talking. I've told officers, if you go to a Dunkin' Donuts and you sit around for 45 minutes and you talk to all the public that's coming in and getting a cup of coffee or whatever, I would rather you do that and make 50, 60, 70 positive contacts with the public than go out and write a ticket just for the sake of writing a ticket. I don't, traffic enforcement has its place.
Sure.
To do it where there's, kind of where there's crime, where there's crashes, and where there's complaints. You got to go out and do traffic enforcement. But if the officers have time, I'd rather them go to a public school in the morning, go to a grade school, and when the kids come off of a bus and there's, 15 buses of kids walking by, third graders, fourth graders, stand there and high five those 150 kids walking in, 300 kids walking into the school, and watch them smile, watch their parents see you have that public interaction, that great interaction with their kids. That builds trust and relationships in the communities. And that's what I expect from my officers. And that's kind of a non-negotiable. I'm a very flexible, I like painting a big, broad picture.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the real common overall goals, community engagement, decrease, decrease the violent crime and, increase traffic safety, so to speak. Those are broad stroke goals, but I expect the officers to work toward those goals. And part of that is that community engagement. And it's just non-negotiable. I mean, that is the only thing that is going to help us in the long run. That will knock down violent crime in the long run, building the trust. Because once the people trust the officer, they'll call the officer. especially in the sub-community of the community of the community, the streets, so to speak.
Right.
Once you have a good understanding, and I don't want to say informants, but a good relationship between people where they'll tell you, look, that's the knucklehead house, and they'll point to the knucklehead house. And you don't necessarily know it because they're pretty good at hiding themselves sometimes.
Sure.
But when people are comfortable with you, they'll tell you that. And then we can go to work and root out the knuckleheads from that house.
And lo and behold, you got a better neighborhood happening.
And the neighborhood grows around that. And yesterday, I had some gentlemen come in to see me. There's probably, 10 of them that came in. I had a meeting scheduled with one gentleman who wanted to come talk to me. Tragically, his son was murdered here in Rockford years ago. And he wanted to come talk to the chief. Well, he came and he brought a whole group of his friends with him, support group. Great guys, sat around and talked to them for, probably an hour. And they haven't had the best relationship with the police before. And we're scheduling a softball game, an old guys softball game. So I'm going to take some cops. Those guys will bring their old guys, and we'll have an old guys softball team, on the other side of the city. And we're just, we're planning it. I think we actually got the date pretty much narrowed down. One of the officers here at Rockford, who I've known for a long time, Josh Peterson, he is really involved in softball, and he's already working on getting us a team together. But that, go out on a weekday and just play some ball in the park, kind of back like the old days.
Right. It's amazing how relationships develop over something like that.
Right. And that's, and it's the old guys, and then maybe some of the young kids see the old guys hanging out with the cops, and maybe the cops aren't such bad people anymore. So that's just one, that's one real quick snippet. There's our community service officers here in Rockford have been doing a great job. They have fantastic relationships in the neighborhood, and they work their tails off. I want that same kind of relationship for every officer with the community that the CSOs currently have. So that's kind of my goal, and that will help the crime problem, and it will just make it a better place to live. When people enjoy where they live and they feel safe, kind of, we were talking about when people hear gunfire in their neighborhood, they don't feel so safe.
No.
And most of the time, and almost all the time, the gunfire is targeted at a particular person who maybe chooses a different type of lifestyle, a nefarious lifestyle. But sometimes they miss those people too.
Yes.
And a couple weeks ago, I can't remember I don't remember if it was downtown or somewhere. A lady was driving with her kids in a car, and she got hit by a stray round in the shoulder. And that's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable behavior. So we're focusing our efforts on the young kids who are running and gunning, and we're trying to lock them up as much as we can. We've probably seized in the vicinity of 55, 56 guns in the last month and a half since I've been here.
Wow.
The officers are, they're out there doing it, and they're working hard. The detectives, the coppers, everybody on the street, I've been really impressed with the amount of work they've been doing. The president of the union, Aurelio De La Rosa.
Great guy.
He's a fantastic guy. Him and his union board, we have met countless times since I came here. They've been fantastic in the support arena. They are all in, as he's told me many times. We got each other's back, so to speak. We have a great relationship. So it's a new era in Rockford, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Rather than me hit you up on something that I might want to know, what haven't I asked you, or what do you want people to know that you haven't had a chance maybe to express at least to a wider audience?
Well, first, I want to get, how do you get that radio voice? You got that, yes, and we're doing the, I want to learn that first and
I have
foremost.
no other skills, as I explained to you. That's all I got going for me.
So that was one of my, I'm like, man, I want to sound like him. I sound flat.
I'll help you.
No, there's probably the biggest thing I want to get out there to everyone and anyone who listens is I really want people to keep calling the police. There are people who have information on our recent shootings. I don't hide facts. I'm very forthright. What I say, I mean. Sometimes to my detriment. I sometimes speak my mind a little more candidly.
That's all right.
Than I probably
appreciate
should.
it.
But we don't hide crime. We've had, I believe it's 13 people shot in the last 9 days, and 3 homicides. And there are people that know who committed these shootings and who committed these murders, and they aren't talking. And we need the parents of those people, we need the friends of those people to encourage them to call the police, even if it's anonymously, even through Crime Stoppers.
Right.
Even if they want to come to my office and talk to me, and I promise I'll never tell who they are. We need people to step up and talk to us.
All right, and he means it. Pick up the phone, call. Call Crime Stoppers. If you're not comfortable calling the cops, somebody will take action on your report. Chief, good to meet you. Thanks for taking time for us this morning.
Thanks for having me. I'll come back whenever you want me.
I'd be glad to.